About 250 to 300,000 years ago. Conversation between a loving father and his son. Enki answered his son Marduk. "My son, what is it that you do not know? What more can I give you?" Marduk, "What is it that you do not know? What can I give you in addition? Whatever I know, you know." Marduk was the firstborn son of Enki, Shiva. He was upset that his father was withholding the most precious of all knowledge, and his father favored his younger brother over him to possess this secret knowledge. Marduk, who was also called as Ra in Egypt. He was the first son of Enki. He was very ambitious prince, who wanted to undo the disrespect done on his father by the other Anunnakis. He wanted to rule the entire solar system. Enki, Shiva taught this young prince Marduk, everything from astronomy, science, military science, administrative and cultural science. Marduk realized that his father was withholding back the most secret knowledge from him, which if he had, would put him in par of the gods. The knowledge was so sacred, that would give anyone who had it, the power of immortals. Marduk knew that his father Enki, Shiva favored his younger brother, to have this sacred knowledge. Enki, Shiva the creator of mankind, knew that his, over-ambitious sons, would stop at nothing to achieve their goals. This knowledge, if ever, is to be given to a student. That student must be absolutely wise, impartial and unambitious, responsible and will not abuse or misuse such a sacred knowledge. Who was this son of Enki, Shiva? Whom he chose to have this sacred knowledge? This famous son of Enki, Shiva was Ningishzida. He was the son of Enki, Shiva, and Ereshkigal. His mother Ereshkigal was a beautiful princess of the underworld. He was a brilliant boy, who excelled in all subjects than his other siblings. At the same time, ambition and greed never found a place in his heart. He was very respectful to his father Enki, Shiva and his elders. He excelled in mathematics, architecture, science, astronomy, a brilliant geneticist, in astrology, and was the guardian of magic. In knowledge and intelligence he was almost in par with his father Enki. When Enki, Shiva created mankind, it was with the help of this son Ningishzida. Adam and Eve so created were sterile, because they were a hybrid species. When Enki was worried about his creation, it was this son Ningishzida, who genetically modified Adam and Eve to be fertile and have children. Our humanity is flourishing today, because of this brilliant individual. Such is the greatness of this individual. He was born on Earth, and not on planet Nibiru. He made his first appearance when he escorted the then newly created Adam to planet Nibiru when their king Anu summoned him. He was a shy and timid youngster. When it came to doing something extremely confidential, Enki, Shiva trusted only his son Ningishzida. He would follow his father's orders to the last letter. This is why he was the favorite son of Enki. His life spans hundreds of thousands of years. He is an immortal being. It is impossible to trace and account all his activities during this immense period. We will try to highlight some of the work done by him. Anywhere you look on this planet, it is his work that is most prominent to this present day. The most famous structure on this planet, the Giza Pyramids, was designed and its construction was executed by him. During the Egyptian time, he was known as Thoth. His name Ningishzida means Lord of Artifact of Life. He was among the group of scientists headed by Enki, Shiva. who successfully created the worker being. This worker being was called human. The human was created to serve Anunnakis on this planet. The first created human was a male called Adam. Thoth-Ningishzida was the chief geneticist while undertaking this project. His spouse name is Azimua in Sumerian literature or Virochana in Hindu literature. His most famous daughter was Isis of Egypt. Isis of Egypt was married to Osiris. He was killed by his brother Seth in a fight for the throne. It was Thoth who took the impossible task of impregnating Isis with the Osiris seed from the dead chopped-up body of Osiris. Osiris' son Horus killed Seth in combat. Then, Thoth-Ningishzida set his daughter's son Horus on the throne of Egypt. Thus began the dynasty of Thoth. Aztec Empire. During the Aztec period, Thoth was called as Quetzalcoatl. During the Mesoamerican culture of the Aztecs, the same Thoth was called Quetzalcoatl, whose name comes from Nahuatl language and means precious serpent or Quetzal feathered serpent. He was the creator of the Aztec calendar. He was the architect of Aztec pyramids. He gave Aztec people knowledge of science, medicine, astronomy, construction and mathematics. The Aztecs loved him immensely because he was kind and considerate god. He lifted these forest-dwelling people from tribesmen to a highly advanced civilization. So much so we at Leonebula suspect they had the knowledge of flying aircraft and spaceships. The Moon Pyramid Complex, built in Teotihuacan in central Mexico, is believed to have been built around 1000 to 400 BC. The entire complex consists of a series of step pyramids, constructed on either side with a well-defined central passage. Though the archaeologists believe this is some sort of temple complex to worship the gods, we at Leonebula beg to differ. Moon Temple Pyramids of Latin America, in Teotihuacan was built around 1000 to 400 BC. The pyramids of this complex were positioned and built precisely according to the structure of our solar system, with Sun and its planets. We at Leonebula have a claim to make. Our claim is that this entire complex was a huge interplanetary spaceport, where top of each pyramid was a dock for the spacecraft to land. The top of pyramids in past must have had landing lights to guide in spacecrafts. The stone masonry used to construct these pyramids suggests that this structure was meant to withstand heavy loads. Archaeologists have found a layer of mica at the foundation of each pyramid. This also suggests that it was meant to withstand some sort of tremendous heat generated from the top layers. This heat could only originate from the engines of the spacecraft after landing. Those steps were used by the pilots to descend to the driveway from spacecraft after landing. All pyramids must have had their own guiding and landing signaling officers. Just like we have on our modern aircraft carriers. The spacecraft pilots would descend to the driveway, board a buggy and make their way to a central control center. When Thoth, aka Ningishzida, aka Quetzalcoatl, the divine flying serpent established and developed this advanced Aztec civilization, he decided to take a break for a few hundred years, to give his attention to some of his other projects. During which time Aztec people without their god became hopeless and stopped functioning properly. They missed their beloved god so much, just like a child misses its mother. They begged and prayed for him to come back for years. When their prayers were answered in silence, they grew desperate. They thought they somehow must have disrespected him without their knowledge. That is the reason their god left them. They wanted to correct their wrongdoing and show their god how much they loved him. They came up with this idea of sacrifice. They wanted to show their god their true emotion. They sacrificed a family member and plucked his beating heart from his body and offered it to their god, Thoth. So much was their love for their god, if Thoth wouldn't have stopped them, they would have sacrificed everyone in their city, down to the last man, woman and child. Thoth aka Ningishzida, never expected this to happen. He was overcome with love and compassion for his Aztec children. He came down with his spaceship, and took entire Aztec people, every man, women and child to another planet. This is the reason why we now know the Aztec, Mayan civilization even though we're so advanced and lived in such a modern city. Mysteriously one day abandoned their cities and disappeared from face of the earth. Without a trace. Theirs, God kept his word. He never abandons them. He finally rescued them. True God was Thoth, down to the last letter. We at Leonebula believe that the Aztec people are today a spacefaring race. They visit Earth often, now and then. Vedic period. Hinduism. During the Vedic period, Thoth was known as Vishwakarma. He was the chief scientist and architect of the Devas, or Anunnakis. He built the Kailash temple in Ellora, which is one of his finest works. He built the thunderbolt weapon for Indra, or Zeus. He built the Sudarshana disc for Vishnu. He is still worshipped by Hindus in temples, as god of Ayurveda, measurement, science, and architect. Greek period. Thoth was known as Hephaestus, his wife name was Aphrodite. He built the thunderbolt weapon for Zeus, built arrows for Apollo and Artemis. He was also the original architect and builder of Baalbek, in Lebanon. Roman period. Thoth was called as Vulcan and his wife was Venus. Time few hundred years ago. Thoth was known as Hermes Trismegistus, or thrice great. Truly he was the greatest of the greatest of the great. He wrote the book called Hermetica. He is author of Emerald Tablet. He is the guardian of the magic. We at Leonebula believe that the greatest of the great Thoth aka Vishwakarma no longer is residing on this planet Earth, as he is fed up of the constant bickering and fighting among the Devas, or Anunnakis, and how humans are being killed indiscriminately in these wars, which in reality is not theirs. Thoth is the only true friend and sympathizer of humanity. If you ever happen to meet an Anunnaki, pray it is Thoth. He is the only god who will protect you from harm. Rest of Anunnakis would kill any human, at sight. Humanity is living on the razor's edge. It is only a matter of time.